because we now know who all the prosecutors will be on Diddy's trial. They're all women. They have assembled a team of female prosecutors, and that is definitely not by accident.
The courtroom was electric, the air thick with tension and disbelief. It wasn't just another day in the trial that had already captivated the world. This was different. The whispers started before it even happened. Unconfirmed murmurs that a major Hollywood figure was about to step forward and take the stand. But no one could have anticipated this. When Will Smith, the fresh-faced, ever-likable star of blockbuster fame, walked through those doors, the room erupted. Gasps, hushed exclamations, even audible disbelief rippled across the gallery. Lawyers froze mid-conversation. Journalists scrambled to adjust their recorders, and Diddy, seated with his defense team, reportedly shifted uncomfortably for the first time since proceedings began. This wasn't just a celebrity cameo in a high-profile case. This was the moment the walls of Hollywood's carefully constructed fortress began to crumble.
I want to mention one other quick thing. They can't find witness number 3 still. This is apparently an ex-girlfriend of Diddy's who was one of the alleged victims. And prosecution can't find her.
Right, I heard.
Will's presence alone was seismic, but what followed was nothing short of earth-shattering. He wasn't there to support Diddy, far from it. He swore under oath to reveal the truths he claimed could no longer remain hidden. The courtroom went silent as he began, his voice steady but heavy with emotion. What he unveiled wasn't just a personal grievance or a minor incident swept under the rug. It was a damning exposé of a system shrouded in secrecy, manipulation, and fear. Will wasn't just testifying against Diddy. He was tearing apart the gilded image of an industry so many had idolized. This was no longer about one man on trial. It was about power, control, and the unspeakable lengths to which some had gone to maintain it. The allegations were jaw-dropping. Will described Diddy's infamous freak-off parties, gatherings that had long been whispered about in Hollywood circles but always dismissed as exaggerated rumors. According to Will, these weren't just decadent soirees. They were meticulously engineered traps. He painted a disturbing picture: lavish mansions transformed into dens of excess, complete with dimmed lights, strategically placed cameras, and an unending flow of substances designed to lower inhibitions. Attendees weren't just there for entertainment. They were baited, compromised, and in many cases, blackmailed. The whispers about a blackmail factory suddenly seemed less like a conspiracy theory and more like a horrifying reality. Will's testimony suggested that footage from these events, intimate, incriminating, impossible to explain away, was systematically archived, creating a database of leverage that could be wielded at any moment. How far does this go? Will asked the courtroom, his voice cutting through the silence like a blade. It wasn't just rhetorical. The implications were staggering. How many stars had smiled on red carpets knowing a shadow of coercion loomed over their careers? How many deals had been quietly struck to keep certain footage from seeing the light of day? And worse, how many victims had been silenced, their stories buried under threats or payoffs?
Attorney is trying to find her, and her attorney has said that she may not be willing to come and testify anyway, so
be interesting.
The tension in the room was palpable as Will delved deeper. He spoke about individuals who had attended these parties, some willingly, others less so. Names weren't dropped, but the implication was clear. This wasn't just a Diddy problem, this was systemic. Hollywood's elite, the untouchable A-listers and powerful executives, were complicit, or at the very least, aware. Will's testimony echoed recent leaks about a secret database tied to Diddy, one rumored to house years' worth of incriminating material. What had once been dismissed as tabloid fodder now carried the weight of credible accusation. And the courtroom buzzed with the unspoken question: who else was on that list? And then there was the chilling story of Victim 3. She was supposed to be the prosecution's star witness, the one who would deliver the nail in the coffin with her first-hand account of what allegedly transpired at Diddy's hands. But she had vanished. Will didn't just mention her absence, he lingered on it, his words laced with a quiet outrage. What happened to her, he asked, his voice almost breaking. Why isn't she here? The prosecution had admitted they couldn't locate her, and her disappearance was as suspicious as it was devastating. This was someone who had reportedly been willing to testify under her real name, someone who had told prosecutors she wanted the world to know her story. And yet, in the weeks leading up to the trial, she had gone silent. Her attorney was unreachable. Her whereabouts, a mystery.
The defense wanted to propose a question on, after the potential jurors filled out their questionnaire, have they seen any news media, any documentaries, anything just relating to a news medium, and whether or not they saw it in between them filling out the questionnaire to Monday morning when they saw, or when they go to jury selection.
The implications were terrifying. Had she been silenced, coerced into disappearing, or worse, had something happened to her? The courtroom sat frozen as Will posed the question everyone was too afraid to answer aloud. What kind of power are we dealing with here? Her absence wasn't just a logistical problem for the trial, it was a chilling reminder of the stakes involved. This wasn't just about exposing one man's crimes, it was about dismantling an empire built on secrecy and fear. As Will continued, he drew connections between Victim 3's disappearance and the broader patterns of intimidation and control that had allegedly defined Diddy's empire. He described a network of enforcers, individuals whose sole job seemed to be ensuring loyalty and silence. Whether through bribes, threats, or outright violence, dissent was quashed before it could ever reach the public eye. Will's words painted a grim picture of a world where power protected power, where victims were left isolated and voiceless, and where even those brave enough to come forward faced unimaginable retaliation.
Which, again, the judge kind of made this a point, too, talking about, okay, well, if we're going to continue to do sidebars each and every single time that a prospective juror has to talk about a sensitive topic, that could take up a lot of time. But again, the defense and the government both seem pretty confident that they'll still be able to kind of get it going at a quick pace. This isn't unusual to do in these types of high-profile cases. So that was pretty much just the topics about, Ghislaine Maxwell.
The courtroom was gripped, every word a revelation, every pause a moment to catch collective breath. Will spoke of the victims, not just as names in a legal case, but as real people who had been caught in the crossfire of a system designed to exploit them. Some had tried to fight back, he revealed, only to find themselves blacklisted, their reputations destroyed, their careers obliterated. Others had resigned themselves to silence, believing there was no way to win against an opponent this powerful. And then there were those who had vanished entirely, their stories left untold. Will's testimony wasn't just an indictment of Diddy, it was a call to arms. This isn't just about him, he said, his voice rising with conviction. This is about everyone who's been a part of this, everyone who's let it happen, everyone who's stayed silent. His words hung heavy in the air, a challenge to the industry and the public alike. How much longer could Hollywood maintain its golden facade when its foundation was cracking under the weight of these allegations?
That they will be adding 2 defense attorneys. We only thought initially it was 1, but one thing that stood out to me when Mark Agnifilo was talking about this was he said that these defense attorneys are in the courtroom right now. I didn't see Mark Garagos in that courtroom, but what I did see is 2 defense attorneys that have been there when Brian Steele came on board, and those 2 defense attorneys were Nicole Westmoreland.
But just as the tension reached its peak, as the courtroom hung on Will's every word, the narrative took a darker turn. Will hinted at forces even greater than Diddy, forces that had kept the system running for decades. He spoke of whispers he'd heard, stories of other powerful figures who had allegedly used similar tactics to maintain their influence. This is bigger than any one person, he said, his voice low but resolute. The implication was clear. Diddy might be the face of this trial, but he wasn't the only one with skeletons in the closet. And just like that, the courtroom and the world was left reeling. Will's testimony had opened Pandora's box, and there was no closing it now. The trial wasn't just about justice for the victims, it was about exposing the raw at the heart of an industry that had long been untouchable. And as the session adjourned for the day, one question lingered above all others. If this was just the beginning, what horrors were still to come?
Or not really the judge. The government didn't go into too many details about the extent of the plea offer, but one thing that they had said was pretty much that under the plea offer, he would be facing less time than he's facing if he would have gone to trial. So when the allocution portion came, Diddy stood up. The judge kind of read him everything that he had needed to read to him, just about whether or not he was of sound mind, whether or not...
As the courtroom revelation sent shockwaves through the entertainment world, whispers of a darker, more insidious system began to surface. A hidden network of fixers, enforcers, and operatives working tirelessly behind the scenes to protect Hollywood's elite. These weren't just shady individuals operating in isolation. This was a well-oiled machine designed to bury scandals, pay off victims, and erase inconvenient truths before they could reach the public eye. The invisible hands pulling the strings were as much a part of the industry as the stars themselves. For years, they had operated in the shadows, ensuring that the glitzy facade of Hollywood remained untarnished. But now, with Will Smith's testimony and the trial against Diddy exposing cracks in this system, it seemed that even the most powerful were no longer immune. According to insiders, Diddy's alleged empire of manipulation didn't just rely on his personal resources, it thrived on this network of enablers. These were the people who handled the logistics, the payoffs, and the cover-ups. When accusations surfaced, they were the ones who swooped in with airtight NDA agreements, hush settlements, and veiled threats. If a victim refused to stay quiet, they found themselves facing relentless intimidation, their careers mysteriously stalling, or their personal lives thrown into chaos. It's hard to ignore the chilling possibility that this same machinery may have played a role in the disappearance of Victim 3. Did fear, coercion, or something even more sinister silence her before she could testify? The question lingered heavily, drawing even more attention to the dark machinery that had kept secrets buried for decades.
far as the plea offer that came up in the last hearing where the government said we did offer him a deal or an offer, I should say, and that he rejected it. And now it's official, and he said it to the court as well, too. You know, he stood up, he said that he consulted with this about his attorneys, and it seems like they're planning, or not even seems like they're rolling the dice by going to.
But it wasn't just Diddy's team that benefited from these invisible operatives. This system was allegedly designed to protect the entire industry. The so-called cleaners were rumored to have ties to some of Hollywood's biggest power players, ensuring that scandals were contained, reputations were salvaged, and the public never got close to the truth. How many careers had been saved by their intervention? And, more disturbingly, how many victims had been sacrificed to keep the system running? The deeper we dig, the clearer it becomes. This isn't just about one man's alleged actions. This is about an entire ecosystem of power, corruption, and silence. A system that's now being dragged into the light, piece by piece. But perhaps the most chilling element of this entire saga is the rumored existence of Diddy's secret database. A digital vault said to house years' worth of compromising material on some of the world's most powerful figures. Allegedly, this isn't just a collection of scandalous moments or embarrassing clips. It's a carefully curated arsenal of control. Executives, politicians, athletes, and A-list celebrities are all rumored to be entangled in its depths, with files containing video footage, photographs, and documents that could destroy careers and reputations in an instant. For years, this database has been whispered about in industry circles, described as the ultimate insurance policy for someone like Diddy, granting him untouchable status no matter what storms came his way.
Bars, you would think possibly, you know, it's the federal government building a case against you. Maybe you would go for the lesser offer, but again, that would be having to admit that he did something wrong. And the defense has always maintained that he is innocent. He has done nothing wrong, that this is just, you know, these are just ex-girlfriends that are mad at, like, just all these types of things that the defense is.
The implications of such a database are staggering. If it truly exists, it wouldn't just be a tool for silencing dissent, it would be a weapon capable of reshaping Hollywood's power structure entirely. Imagine the chaos if even a fraction of its contents were made public. Careers would crumble overnight, alliances would shatter, and decades of carefully managed public personas would dissolve in the blink of an eye. Some speculate that the database doesn't just hold leverage on Diddy's supposed enemies, but also contains material on his closest allies, ensuring their loyalty through fear of exposure. It's the kind of shadowy power play that feels almost too sinister to be real, and yet, given the mounting allegations, it's becoming harder and harder to dismiss. What's even more unsettling is the question of what happens next. If investigators uncover this alleged Pandora's box, could its contents ever see the light of day? Or would the stakes be deemed too high, forcing authorities to bury it alongside the secrets it holds? And if the database remains hidden, who ultimately controls it? These questions add a new layer of tension to an already explosive trial, leaving us to wonder just how deep the roots of Diddy's alleged empire truly run, and how many lives it has quietly influenced from the shadows.
And the judge said that, you know, he seemed to be taking this kind of matter seriously. Now, I will just kind of preface it and say it. I haven't seen the documentary, but it's not out of the realm, or it's not out of the norm that she even went on this documentary as well, too, because she had previously gone on another documentary and kind of talked about her client's accusations against Diddy as well, too. So I was surprised that they brought up this particular documentary. Again, I don't know the extent of what she had said, but the defense seemed very annoyed in a way. And
the fallout from Will Smith's testimony has been swift and brutal. Across Hollywood, those once eager to boast of their connections to Diddy are now scrambling to distance themselves. Social media accounts have been quietly scrubbed of past photos and posts. Invitations to his infamous parties, once considered the ultimate status symbol, are now being reframed as mistakes or misunderstandings. It's the kind of PR damage control we've seen before, but this time it feels different. There's a sense that the walls are closing in, not just on Diddy, but on everyone who played a role in maintaining this culture of silence. Rumors of a celebrity silence network have begun to swirl, an unspoken agreement among Hollywood's elite to look the other way, protect their own, and preserve the status quo at all costs. But now, that loyalty is being tested like never before. The industry is entering a moment of reckoning. For years, there's been a quiet understanding. Don't ask questions, don't rock the boat, and in return, the system will protect you. But as more victims come forward and more secrets are unearthed, it's becoming clear that this unspoken code is starting to crumble. What happens when the spotlight turns to those who stayed quiet, to the directors, producers, and fellow stars who attended the same parties and worked on the same projects? How much did they really know, and how many more secrets are hiding in plain sight, just waiting to be uncovered?
And so the judge, again, seemed to be taking that matter pretty seriously and just pretty much said that, everyone, the attorneys, the witnesses' attorneys, the accusers' attorneys, they all have to adhere to these professional rules. They all have to adhere to this professional conduct. And if this continues and if more things are said that get onto the judge's radar.
One source close to the trial has claimed that several industry insiders are now bracing for the possibility of their own names being dragged into the scandal. It's not just about what you did or didn't do, the source explained. It's about what you allowed to happen. And in this business, silence can be just as damning as complicity. The ripple effects are undeniable. Suddenly, Hollywood's golden image is tarnished, and the rumors we've all heard whispered for years are starting to feel much more real. And then there's the public. The trial has ignited a firestorm of debate, with fans, critics, and commentators all weighing in on what this means for the future of the entertainment industry. Some are calling for a complete overhaul, demanding accountability not just from Diddy, but from everyone who enabled him. Others are taking a more cynical view, questioning whether real change is even possible in an industry so deeply entrenched in power and privilege. But one thing is certain, the days of sweeping scandals under the rug are over. Thanks to Will Smith's courage and the growing chorus of voices refusing to stay silent, a new chapter is being written, one that promises to reshape Hollywood in ways we've never seen before.
End of the day, just to tell the truth, so hopefully we can get down to the bottom of this. I'm 100%, the charges against me are 100% false, and hopefully due to time, we'll start to see that.
As the trial continues, the stakes couldn't be higher. Will Smith's closing words to the court were as powerful as they were haunting. Fear can no longer triumph over conscience. It's a statement that resonates far beyond the courtroom, sending a clear message to Hollywood and the world. This isn't just about one man facing justice. It's about dismantling a system that has operated with impunity for far too long. And with every new revelation, it becomes increasingly clear that this is only the beginning. How many more names will be exposed? How many more victims will find the courage to come forward? And how much longer can the industry's remaining secrets stay hidden? The trial of Sean Diddy Combs is shaping up to be one of the most explosive scandals in modern history, with implications that could ripple across the entertainment world for years to come. But what do you think? Is this the moment Hollywood finally faces its reckoning? Or will the system find a way to survive once again? Let us know in the comments below. We're dying to hear your thoughts, and as always, stay tuned, because this story is far from over. Until next time, take care, and remember, the truth has a way of coming out no matter how deeply it's buried.